Happy Friday, everyone. This is the Captain. Welcome back to Obey Gnome. This is the Friday show, so as I said before, this will be a day for discussing video game news or any particular topics here, more of a discussion-based thing rather than a gameplay type thing. First bit of news for today is got a hold of a can of WD-40, and I have stopped most of the squeaking of my chair, so that will be prevented in future videos. And I have figured out a way to record without getting so much sound in the mic, laughing and such. So that should be resolved for the future. Please do excuse my messy kitchen. Today I actually wanted to talk about something I've been following for a while. It's something that is well, first off, it's Disney Infinity is what I'm going to be talking about today. I know it's going to draw a lot of comparisons to Skylanders. I've actually been pretty excited about it from the announcement, and got to get my Game Informer today, and that's kind of what spurred this on. It's something here. I got a lot of good details, got a lot of things that really kind of sets it apart from Skylanders, and makes it a little bit more of a digestible kind of system to me than something like Skylanders was. Kind of the way it's built around, if you're not familiar with Skylanders or with any of the news about Disney Infinity yet, basically it's going to be kind of a toy and game kind of hybrid. They're kind of planning it as more of a platform on the game side of things. Basically, you buy the starter set. It's estimating $74.99, which is about what Skylanders runs as well. And that allows you to get the disc on any of the platforms. I think I saw PC, all the consoles, and I've heard tablet as well here, maybe supported in the future. And it comes with the disc and this little base that plugs in via USB. Basically, after that point, you buy these figures that sit on the base. The figures actually bring in content. In the case of Disney Infinity, the characters themselves will actually bring in content for like a little story mode, which they're estimating between probably 5 to 10 hours, depending on like completionist, that sort of thing, as well as content for their sandbox mode. If you've played Toy Story 3 game, I know a lot of people probably didn't. I got really excited about it when I saw reviews and previews of it. They had this Toy Box mode. It was basically like MMO questing in like an open world with Toy Story characters. It was a really cool system. You kind of ran around, completed quests for people, unlocked areas, and it was very freeform. You could pick a couple different characters to play as, and it was a really cool system overall. And they're actually bringing that back, so you'll actually be able to, with each figure, not only get the content and storyline specific to the character, but you actually get a lot of content and characters for this Toy Box mode, which will be where different characters, different content, different universes will kind of mix together. It's something that I think is kind of a cool way to handle that. So you not only get the single-player story, but you also get like a multiplayer sandbox content for that as well. The sandbox mode that they're talking about, they're going to be actually looking at being able to like place enemies, objectives. For example, you can build like a racetrack. As long as it's a complete racetrack, you can actually have like AI races, multiplayer, and they're going to have a content service where you can upload this kind of stuff. I've seen some videos on the actual editor itself. It has a lot of terraforming features. You can add in a lot of like buildings, other kinds of accessories, and it looks pretty in-depth. It looks very like Little Big Planet-esque, where it's supposed to have a lot of flexibility as far as the kind of stuff you can make with it. And they're actually shooting right now. I haven't seen official word on that, but I know they're intending to have that be something where the levels can actually go cross-platform. So somebody who made a level on PC can transfer it to tablet, can transfer it to 360, which means you're going to get a lot of content for that pretty quickly. It's kind of neat here. And they're kind of looking at it as kind of a replacement platform. From what I've seen, looking at like a 5 to 10 year cycle. So it looks like it's going to get a little bit more support than Skylanders has. They kind of jump straight on getting like a yearly release kind of thing with upgrades and that sort of thing, which kind of quickly makes the older figures and that sort of thing obsolete pretty quickly. It's currently stated they're going to try to support that long term. And they're actually looking at it being a platform for future Disney releases. So rather than like get a movie come out and you get like a Tron game, you know, something that's rushed, they have to do all new assets, do everything from scratch. They're hoping that's going to become a platform that they'll be able to release games, release figures and content for the Disney Infinity rather than building like a standalone title, which will mean hopefully more quality. I mean, if the game's decent at all, I think I would rather see, you know, new content, new stories come out on that platform rather than being something else that's been rushed, that's been, you know, just kind of hacked together to make it by a release date. And they're hoping for figures and that sort of thing to come out on the same date as like DVD releases, that sort of thing. So they're hoping to tie that in as a platform. So they'll be kind of replacing their standalone releases for the most part with Disney Infinity releases, which, like I said, it makes a lot more sense overall. And it's something that's great because it ties in like the toy aspect of things with the games themselves. They kind of have multiple products. Skylanders just has the figures. You drop them on the base, and they kind of go into your game. We're looking at 17 at launch for different characters. The initial set, I guess, is going to come with Sully, Jack Sparrow, and Mr. Incredible, which is probably the ones most people are going to be most interested in. I thought Mr. Incredible was an interesting choice because the Incredibles movie wasn't as big as some other titles that Disney has, but I can see them putting that in to have a lot more combat in the game, and I can see that having a lot of appeal because they're talking about Sully's in the Monsters Inc. levels being more like pranks and that sort of and that sort of thing. So not as much kind of standard conflict as you normally get in video games. So I'm sure that was the reasoning behind that. In addition to that, though, you're actually going to be able to buy randomized power discs. They're talking about them coming in blister packs. So you'll actually end up buying and just getting something random, something kind of along cheaper lines, like $5, I think is the quote I saw. And they'll basically be like modifications to characters, so like updating stats or anything like costumes and stuff is what they're talking about. And they're actually going to have certain ones that actually bring in stuff to the toy box mode as far as vehicles, that sort of thing. The nice thing about that, though, I thought was kind of a neat way to handle that, is to kind of take some of the disappointment out of getting like copies or repeats that you already have. You can actually stack them up. So if you have multiple of a certain modifier, it will actually modify more. So that's the kind of a nice way. It kind of gives a little bit more incentive to go for that randomized kind of purchasing structure. The thing that was a little odd to me was that they're actually looking at playsets, which they're not very clear on what's included in playsets. I think it's just a new set of like levels and content for the toy box, but I saw between $30 and $35 for the playsets. Again, though, it's not clear. I'm not sure if that's something that would be like a package including multiple characters as well as that content, or if it's just that, because the base has like 2 slots is for 2 characters and then like a playset, and I haven't seen anything that's really clarifying what they're defining as a playset. So it's going to be interesting to see how the actual pricing structure that comes out. As far as Skylanders, as I said before, I think this is a lot better product. I have an easier time getting behind that than I do Skylanders. The thing that was bothering me about Skylanders, it looked like a fairly fun thing. I was mostly looking at getting it to play with my fiance Gail, who doesn't play a lot of games, and it's just kind of a fun thing. We had a ton. Sorry, making sure I wasn't covering up the mic with my thumb. We had a ton of fun with the Toy Story toy box mode, which is, like I said, same developer as making Disney Infinity, so that's why I'm kind of looking at this as well. But that kind of game is really easy to pick up and play, play in really short sessions. But the thing for Skylanders for me was, it wasn't just like an optional, fun thing to get these toys. They actually made it a requirement to actually go through all the content that was included in the game. And it was just kind of an odd choice, like certain gates were hidden behind elements, and you had to buy additional sets that had these elements you needed. And so you were looking at to actually kind of play through it and actually do everything that you were presented with in the game, at least buying 1 or 2 figures on top of the core set. This is actually going to be something where it's completely new content, so it's a new story, new sandbox mode. It's going to feel, from what I've seen, I guess it depends on how they handle it, but it feels like a little bit more of a complete product when you just get that core set, as opposed to having that set away. Also, I think, overall, it's conceptually, it lends itself a lot better than Skylanders did. They kind of took Spyro and they made a lot of new characters. Some of them weren't from previous games, but for the most part, it was kind of a completely new universe. It was something that was, I don't know, it seemed like an odd choice for that property to be used for that. Disney, of course, has a lot of lines of toys. It is something that has a lot more variety to it. And they're kind of theming everything, even in the games, around kind of a central style. So they're making everything not only just look like toys, but a certain type of style of toy. And so it kind of ties everything together a little bit better than like Skylanders did. I think it's a good choice. Also, they're opening that up to be multiple genres. So, for example, you buy the Sully set. Like I said, it's like a pranking, kind of more of like a sim kind of a thing. You buy the Incredibles sets, it's going to be, of course, a lot more combat. I know the car sets are talking about having a lot of racing challenges, that sort of thing. And so, to start with, it's a little bit more variety in the game than Skylanders was. A lot of the part Skylanders was, I mean, there's a lot of games out there that do that kind of dungeon crawling kind of thing, and with them having to make it compatible with so many different kinds of characters that you would buy, and trying to future-proof that, you know, I know it was a little more bland than it could have been. And again, with the way that they handled having different elements come in to try to incentivize buying, it was something that I think kind of drug on, and it got to be a little odd, but it lost a lot of variety in limiting itself to one type of style like that. I think this has a lot more appeal. It's something that kind of is more customizable to kind of what you would want to be playing. Yeah, I mean, and the Toy Box mode, I mean, is something that I think adds in a lot. Like I said, I love Toy Box mode in Toy Story 3. We played a heck of a lot of that, and to have kind of, you know, it might just be nostalgia, kind of overcoming my cynicism for Skylanders as well, but to have those multiple characters in one world, be able to like build new buildings, you know, do terraforming and stuff in the world creators, and be able to actually build levels within that, it's actually really appealing. You know, it's something that I know is obviously aimed a little bit below my age bracket, but it is something that is, like I said, a very appealing product because of the kind of experience it presents. And I think it's something that's rather unique. Yeah, like I said, I'm a big kid at heart, so it's something that's really appealing to me. There's some possible issues, though. I realized that they actually made a release, and I know Disney's actually made statements to this effect as well. The on-disc DLC, so basically the entire game is on the disc when you buy it for what they've had planned content for the 17 characters and the universes they have already. I know there's been a lot of outcry against on-disc DLC, which is something that the discs actually come with that content already, and you would be downloading, like in the case of, I can't think of any games that did it now. I know Capcom got a lot of flack for it. I think that was Dead Space had it, and I know Dead Rising had some on-disc DLC. But it was something where you download like this couple kilobyte patch that would just basically tell the game you had access to that, and it was something that a lot of people were really upset that they would make this product and kind of outhold content that was, for all intents and purposes, finished. A lot of the argument when DLC was first coming out was that it was something that the development had ended, and then they had time to continue developing out the game afterwards, and that's where that DLC was coming from. And they're really starting to plan DLC to kind of get more money out of these products long term. Now this is something here, I mean, obviously this is very clear when you buy the product here, in the case of like Disney Infinity and Skylanders as well, that you're not getting all the content when you purchase it. It's very clearly an issue of buying these characters to get access to that. So I don't think it's quite the same deal, but you know, I've seen a lot of disagreement on the net as well. Also, Disney was actually talking about, because of the fact that they've planned so far ahead for movie releases for movies that haven't actually come out yet, there's a lot of content on the disc that are actually possibly spoilers about release dates, about possible, even like storylines and that sort of thing for future Disney movies. And it's something that they're a little bit concerned about, that people will kind of sift through the data files here and get information ahead of time. But obviously they do feel that the benefit of having a product come out with a toy and the integrated game and everything on the date of like DVD releases, movie releases, is something that's worth it, which I think is interesting that they would kind of make that trade-off. Obviously they see a lot of potential in there for money, and a lot of ease of getting those products out, already having that platform and the graphics engine and that sort of thing in place. So I mean, that's kind of my thoughts on the matter. That's kind of the information I've seen so far. A lot of that did come from the Game Informer article, as well as a few other announcements, that sort of thing on the net. There's a lot of information out there if you'd like to find more about it. But I wanted to see what you guys thought. How do you feel about this new thing that's coming out? I mean, this isn't something that I had when I was a kid. I wish it was. I can assure you, when I was a kid, I would have loved this. But to be able to have this kind of integrated product line, what do you guys think? Is this just a cheap cash grab? Is this, I mean, obviously it makes a lot of business sense, but do you think this is something that's really for the benefit of the consumer? Do you feel like this is something that should be done away with? Kind of give me your thoughts on it. As I said, personally, you look at the cost of these kind of things, especially the $35 does seem a little bit high, but when I was a kid, I got play sets and that sort of thing for that cost all the time. To be able to have the toys and have that additional video game on top of that, I think is something that, especially for kids who are already getting stuff, it has a lot more value for children than it would for somebody like myself who I was probably going to pick this up. Ashamedly. But I probably would never buy those sets because I wouldn't play with the toys, and I wouldn't actually have that side of things. It would just be digital content to me. But what do you guys think? Do you think that's something that should continue? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? I know a lot of my cynicism. I didn't like the Skylander sets as much. I got that there was a market for it, and that there was a benefit to it for some people. But like I said, it didn't make sense to me to get kind of a mediocre hack and slash game with these kind of made-up characters. I don't know, it just didn't seem to make sense for the value, but again, maybe it's not nostalgia overcoming this, but I think the Disney properties having that mashup has a lot more of a benefit to it. And again, I mean, it's by the same developers that did the Toy Story 3 game. I love the sandbox mode there. It's something that's really interesting, but yeah, again, just give me your thoughts, guys. I will also leave, of course, down in the description below, if it stays there, the links to our Facebook and Twitter page. We'll link anytime we have a new video come out, as well as whenever I'm doing streaming, anything like that, if you guys want to join me for that, as well as little tidbits here and there. I was kind of complaining about upload speeds the other day. I tried to upload the last video about Overgrowth. I didn't realize before I uploaded, I must have looked at the wrong file, that it was a 22 gigabyte AVI file with 4 audio channels, because it was 2 stereo channels for my voice and the game audio, and I thought I had processed that. I went to upload it. It was 22 gigabytes. It took me a couple hours to get to like 19%. I couldn't figure out what was going on. Then I looked at the file size and oh, I was surprised I got to 19% with 22 gigabyte upload. So that was all fixed here, so I hopefully will get videos out more punctually in the future. I know I wished Happy Tuesday on a Wednesday, which is a little embarrassing, but yeah, overall here, like I said, I'll include the links to that to make sure you guys can follow me there. That's where a lot of content on the channel is going to be up. Also, as I mentioned in the last video, do give us a call here. I actually have a phone number with a voicemail inbox set up at 2 Obey Gnome. That's going to be in the description as well. Leave a comment on what you thought. You know, voice comment is an alternative to leaving text comment. If I get any good responses, I will include in the video at the end of the week. So please do that. I will work on Chapstick as well. I apologize, you guys had to stare at that for 17 minutes. This has been going on for a long time. So apart from that, you guys have a happy Friday. This has been the Captain, and please tune in next time.